Can Donald Trump dissolve Congress? Just get rid of it completely? I've been giving that a lot of thought, and the answer is yes. There is a way that I believe he can do that. Now, not legally, of course, but so much of what he does obviously is not legal and constitutional. And it's ridiculous that we even have to have a conversation like this and even contemplate whether or not the president can dissolve another branch of government. But I think we're at a place where we have to game out all these different scenarios to try to anticipate what this criminal might do. I mean, we all understand. I don't think anybody doubts the fact that he would be dictator for life if he could be. And I don't think any reasonable person would doubt the fact that he is actively trying to come up with ways to do that. What he might be willing to do, what he might try to do, I don't know. None of us know. But I think we all realize that he would do that and probably wants to do that and is probably planning ways to do that. So I think we have to try to anticipate things that he might try to do so that we can plan in advance for how to deal with it. And so I've been thinking about those things, you know, from my perspective as a lawyer, a constitutional lawyer, someone who thinks about these issues a lot. I've been giving it some thought. And this morning I was specifically thinking about this idea, how he could get rid of Congress, just dissolve the body completely. And then I was reading comments to one of my videos, and somebody posted a line from Star Wars, a scene that I have actually quoted myself many times. It's this scene where, and it's the first movie, episode 4, where Grand Moff Tarkin walks into the conference room, and one guy is talking to the other people in the room, and he's saying, the rebellion will continue to gain support in the Imperial Senate. And then Grand Moff Tarkin walks in, and he says this line. He says, the Imperial Senate, and by the way, I was going to play a clip from Star Wars. I thought it would be perfect to put it in here, you know, to play this scene for you. But then I'm like, you know what? It's going to get flagged for copyright by YouTube. And even though it would be 100% legal fair use, I'm still going to get flagged, and I'd have to deal with that. And my channel might get a strike. So I'm not going to even mess with that. I'm just going to read you the line. So Grand Moff Tarkin walks in and he says, the Imperial Senate will no longer be of any concern to us. I have just received word that the Emperor has dissolved the council permanently. The last remnants of the old republic have been swept away. And I think about this scene often, given what's going on in this country. Because we're seeing this in real time. We're seeing the United States Republic being destroyed from within. And we're seeing virtually nobody do anything about it. You know, the people, there's very little that the people can do. And they're beginning to rise up more and more. But in our system, the people who we elect to positions of authority, there are people in this system who could put an end to this right now, but they don't do it. And so we see where this is headed. And we need to anticipate what he might do. So here's how I think that he could get rid of Congress. Just dissolve it. Now, there's a lot of speculation out there about Donald Trump canceling future elections. Hell, you have the governor of California talking about it, warning people that he fears that if Donald Trump gets his way, we might not have elections in 2028. And if he gets his way, Gavin Newsom is right. We won't if he gets his way. But I think we need to be concerned about the 2026 midterm elections. Because imagine this. Imagine if he tries to cancel or postpone those elections. Now, let's be clear. There is no legal or constitutional way to cancel or even postpone for a day our national elections. It's not legally possible. Doesn't mean they won't try it. And if nobody pushes back, doesn't mean they won't be successful, but it's not legal. People seem to think, I've heard this argument a lot, well, if we're at war, he can postpone elections or cancel elections. No, there is no circumstance under which a president or Congress or anyone could postpone the election. That is established by law, by Constitution and the law, when we will have our elections. We've had elections in the middle of wars before, okay? That's not a thing. Doesn't mean they won't try. Now imagine if they can in some way cancel or even just postpone. You don't even need to cancel it completely. You can just sell it as a postponement. Maybe he takes us to war. Maybe he declares some sort of a national emergency. And he tries to postpone the election. Now, he can't do it on his own. People would have to go along with this. The states would have to go along with it, because it's the states that control the elections. Donald Trump doesn't control it. He can't postpone the election by executive order. He needs the states to go along with it. Well, he's got a lot of, Republicans in the states and governorships and legislatures who would probably be willing to do whatever Donald Trump wants. So imagine he takes us to war, probably illegally, like he's talking about doing in Venezuela. Or he declares some sort of a national emergency. And he gets the red states to go along with his call to postpone the elections. And they all come out and say, yeah, given the fact that we're at war, or given the fact that we have this national emergency, we think we should postpone elections. We're not going to hold elections in our state. So say something like that happens, and he gets, however it would play out, he is able to successfully postpone the election in some way. Well, what happens to Congress if we postpone the election? Say we put them off for a year or 6 months, just 6 months, or even just a few months, okay? What happens to Congress then? Does the Congress just stay as it is? Or do the members who are currently in Congress continue to be congressmen and women? Do they continue to hold their offices? Well, by operation of law, no. Their terms, everyone in the House of Representatives has a 2-year term. So if you don't hold elections and you postpone it, come January of 2027, their terms have expired. They are no longer members of Congress. And if we didn't have elections, now there are no members of the House of Representatives. It's an empty body. There's nobody there. And in the Senate, a third of the Senate is up for re-election every 2 years, a third of the Senate is up. So the Senate there'll only be 2/3 of the senators still there. So that's it. That will be all that is made, that will exist of Congress come January 2027, which means there is no Congress, because the Senate can't do anything on its own, and there'll only be 2/3 of them, but the House won't exist at all. And so Donald Trump can he will have wiped Congress off the face of the earth. It won't exist as a body. That is the way he can do it. And think about this. If he's able to postpone the election, he will have gotten these red states to go along with it. He almost certainly will have gotten all of these Republicans, or many of them, in Congress to go along with it. He probably will have sold them on the idea, look, if you go along with me and we cancel elections or we postpone them, then you get to stay as a member of Congress and you don't even have to face re-election. You can just keep your job and we can just keep this going and we won't have elections anymore. And I'll be a permanent, dictator for life president, and you'll be a permanent member of Congress forever and we'll never have elections again. I can see these cult members in Congress going along with it. Most of them are probably too stupid to realize what I just told you. Come January 2027, they're actually not members of Congress anymore. Their terms will have expired. And at that point, Donald Trump can just say, you know what? my bad. I said you can be members of Congress forever, but you're not. Your terms have expired, and I'm not going to even recognize you anymore. And since I'm still president and Congress doesn't exist anymore, somebody has to make the laws. Somebody has to pass budgets. Somebody has to do the work of Congress. So I'll just do it because Congress doesn't exist anymore. And we're in a permanent state of emergency, and I'm just dictator for life. So that, I don't know that that is something they would try. I don't know that that is something they have even thought of. And I know whenever I speculate about these kinds of things, and I try to anticipate things they might do, I always have people who get mad at me and they say, don't give them ideas. Look, they're coming up with ideas whether I give them these ideas or not. That's number one. And maybe they will have come up with this particular idea. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they just haven't yet. I don't know. But you know what? They don't watch this channel anyway. Okay, so, and they're coming up with ideas on their own. And there's probably other ideas they have floating around out there about how they can do this stuff. But we have to take this shit seriously. For a while, I didn't take the idea of canceling elections and this kind of stuff too seriously because he can't do it on his own. He doesn't control elections. He can't cancel them by executive order. There's no way for him to do it. There's no legal way for anyone to do it. The states can't just cancel their elections either. Hey, they can cancel their state elections, but they can't cancel legally federal elections. As I said, those are, that's a constitutional requirement. But if the law is just ignored and no one's going to actually hold the election, then it doesn't matter what's legal or what's constitutional. And as I say, Trump can't do it on his own. He can't order it. He needs all these people to go along with it. And I never thought that Republicans and that states would actually go along with canceling elections because they would have to. And I never really thought that that was a possibility. I no longer dismiss it anymore. After seeing virtually every institution in this country, from private corporations and colleges and universities and members of Congress, judges, state governors, just one after another, nobody stands up to him. People just go along. I no longer think it's impossible for them to successfully cancel or postpone elections. If people are going to go along with it, really nothing is impossible. And we have to anticipate these things. We have to game these things out. Anyway, yeah. Could he essentially dissolve Congress? Yeah. I think he could. And I think he has enough people in the Republican Party, either as full-on members of his cult and who will go along with it for that reason, or other people, and I think this is more of them, who are just so afraid to oppose him in any way that they'll go along with it. And many of them, I believe, are just so stupid that if Trump came to them and said, hey, I got a plan, like I said, I got a plan so that we can all stay in power forever. Just go along with me. Let's postpone the election, and then you could be members of Congress forever. I think they're stupid enough to go along with it. I don't think that those idiots would ever think that Trump would turn on them. But I believe that if they did this, that's exactly what Trump would do. Come January 2027, all these members of Congress would think that they're going to just stay members of Congress forever. I think they would be in for a rude awakening when Donald Trump says, you know what? None of you are members of Congress anymore. Your terms have expired. Congress doesn't exist as a body anymore. And I'm just going to go it alone. I am now the dictator I have always wanted to be, and you morons made it possible. That is, and the time frame of that, like I said, January 2027, like a year and a half from now. We don't have to wait, is the point. We don't have to wait for the 2028 election for Donald Trump to do something to try to cancel that election, to install himself as a dictator. he might be able to do it by postponing the midterms. He can't do it alone, but if people go along with him, then that's exactly what could happen. Anyway, those are just my thoughts. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. And as always, I thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.